Hello, my friends. My name is PEtrovick, and for the past 25 years, I've been teaching, coaching, and training people how to create a better quality of life. A lot of that has to do with your thinking. You know, today I live a lifestyle that most people would only dream about. I got to tell you, it hasn't always been this easy. Darren Hardy wrote a book called The Entrepreneurial Roller Coaster. It goes like this. And when you are in business for yourself, I don't care if you have a coaching business, a regular storefront that you own, or you're in the network marketing profession, you're going to have your ups and you're going to have your downs. I believe that success and prosperity has a lot to do with our philosophies. I think the quality of life that you have right now in this moment is a reflection of the quality of your choices that you've made. And if you're not really where you want to be at this point in your life, maybe, just maybe, you need to look at the choices and the philosophies that you have. Now, here's a great question I want you to ask yourself. Why is it that some people in the same company that you're in are having massive success and maybe you are not? And it could be a coaching business or a network marketing business. Well, in this series, I call this series Prosperity and the Mentors. I'm going to be interviewing some of the best people in the world that I know about creating success. And what you're going to discover is that these people all have an amazing prosperity mindset. And I think you're going to be surprised on where some of these people have come from and their stories. So my intention is to help you go behind the curtain to get to know each and every one of these individuals so that you can create a new philosophy for yourself, so that you can create more prosperity and more abundance. We're going to talk about habits, philosophies, challenging times, good times, what worked, what didn't work, how to create success, happiness, and overall abundance. Now, today, I'm stoked. Today, I'm really, really excited. My guest today has actually been a cover girl model for several years. And that actually led to several years with alcohol and drug abuse and struggles with eating disorders, even mercury poisoning. And she reached a point in her life, as sometimes we all do, and said, okay, I got to get this back on track. I got to get my life back. And today she's a certified master herbalist, transformational life coach. She specializes in women's wellness and empowerment. She does retreats all over the world, workshops, online programs. She's a single mom of 3. So, I mean, all of this is going on. And yes, she is the mama still. And very cool thing about her, in 2 short years, she's become a top income earner in her company. Teaches and coaches and mentors people because she has a heart for giving and enlightening. She is that proverbial light that we all want to be guided by. Our guest today is the one and only Renee Jeffus. Renee, thanks so much for being here today.
Oh, thanks, Terry. It's such a pleasure to be here with you. I loved your opening and, you know, the intention that you have here for what this transmission and these teachings and this sharing is about. So it's just a joy to be here. Thank you for asking me.
Well, awesome. Awesome. So let's just jump right in. What does prosperity mean to you, Renee? If you could define it in your way, talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. Great. Well, you know, I think for me, it is so much broader than financial wealth, although I have, thank goodness, come to a place where I have healed enough of like my poverty consciousness to have it include abundance in the wealth and in the dollars and in the material world, because I think that is a big part of it. And so often, if we're on a spiritual path, we can leave that out. So prosperity for me is a state of overflow and abundance. And excuse my dog.
Okay, don't worry about the dogs.
Okay, good. So it's this overflow state of well-being, both from a health and vitality and radiance place. It is an overflow of giving, right? Because when we're in a straight state of prosperity, it's like all the channels are open and we are both receiving on a really, really big level. And we're also being a channel to flow more out and to give more. So prosperity for me is really being able to live our lifestyle the way that we want, to be able to have the material means to whatever it is that fulfills our deepest soul and our deepest dreams and desires, right? So for everybody on a financial level, that could be a huge variable, right? But it's about being in that state of overflow, abundance, having the abundance of the joy, the abundance of the feel-good emotions, the abundance of positive, joyful thinking and mindset, the abundance of friends and family and the good things in life that make us happy. And then, of course, the prosperity in this world is really resting on also that material well-being and that financial freedom. So I've been really excited to be incorporating that prosperity piece of the financial well-being more and more lately.
Yeah. So why not have it all? We all deserve it. We might as well get it, right?
Right. Totally.
I'm curious, do you have any morning or evening rituals that you do?
Okay, great. Well, I am very, very committed to like a meditative visualization process. I do that every morning, every night. I really breathe into a meditative state, and then I get into the feel goods. I get into the dreaming. I get into the visualization. One of the things that impacted me the most was the Science of Getting Rich, and this deeper understanding of the more that we can actually be really clear and focused and feel and the sensations of and breathe it and smell it, even in our visualization, right? The more impactful that has on the universe, God, goddess, spirit, whatever you call it, to then be able to know how to answer our prayers. So for me, there's a meditative practice in the morning and the night. When I lay down at night, that's how I enter my sleep state. That's how I wake up in the morning and before I hop out of bed into my busy day, which, can still be pretty busy because I've got my 6-year-old at home and my teenager and the full life and the dogs and, but I always make a practice of when I wake up, I go back into that state of cultivating my connection with my desires, my dreams, my visions, my longings, and the actual visualizing that into being. So those two things are daily practices for me. I also fit in wherever I can, but it is on a daily basis, right? It's whether it's picking up the book or it's listening to it in my car, or it's on Audible in my ear in between calls. I absolutely do the mindset work. The more that we make that a regular daily practice, I think the more impactful it is on our lives. I've just seen that myself. The more I really implement that, if it's 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, if it's a CD or a tape in the car, dating myself here. We're at that age now where we can remember the tapes, right? We remember the tapes and the CDs. I still do it on CDs a lot. I don't even have it all on my aux cord in my car, but so it's the mindset work, and then connecting with gratitude as much as possible, really just reconnecting with that continual gratitude, the giving thanks for the miracles of the moment. My breath, right? The breath, right? This moment, that's the miracle. Every moment that we get to be here on this planet, seeing the smiles of our children, spending the time with the people that we love, that's a miracle. So to consciously remember that, and to take the moment, to take that pause and have that be a moment of gratitude.
That's awesome.
I'd say those are my daily practices.
Those are wonderful. I read something the other day that says, I want to be the person that my dog thinks I am.
That's perfect. I know my dogs are so loyal.
That's right.
Right.
So what book or gift or item do you find yourself giving away to people most often?
Ooh, you mean to people in general, or people who are perhaps starting on the entrepreneurial path, or
whatever?
Well, a couple of my biggest, recommendations or gifts right now is You're a Badass at Making Money, Jen Sincero.
Got it on my show.
So all my ladies, either it's a gift or it's a recommendation or it's.
Hey, my daughter gave that one to me.
I think it's awesome for the guys too.
Yeah.
And I have it on both hard copy and in Audible, and I love her voice. She's crass, she's funny, you know, and she's bringing a lot of these wealth principles, I think, to a like kind of, you know, modern, hip, kind of easy to digest kind of way.
Yeah.
What I gift the most to, so I personally am a big fan of Eric Worre and GoPro. So whenever, you know, I start working with a new person in my business, I gift The Rise of the Entrepreneur and I gift GoPro. And that's part of my, you know, welcoming someone to this journey of, you know, rocking their life with the potential of, you know, financial freedom through network marketing.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
What purchase of $100 or less has impacted you the most in the last 6 months?
Ooh. What purchase of $100 or less? That's a tough one. I mean, all of the books. These two, I can show you these two. These two are the ones I'm working on right now. Visionary Life by Mark Allen and The Abundance Book. Those are both purchases of under $100, right? All of the books, all the tapes, the not tapes, but the programs. I don't know how else. I'm like trying to think, what have I purchased under? I have the big things that have, you know, impacted my life in the last 6 months, but what are the little ones? I don't know. You've stumped me on that one.
Hey, the books are a good answer. The Abundance Book is probably, I won't say it's probably the least expensive, but it's not expensive at all. It's a little bitty, but it's so.
Oh, it's like $7.
Yeah.
This one is changing me.
Yeah.
Deep.
Yeah. So it doesn't cost a lot of money to change the philosophy.
Right.
But you got to do the work.
You got to do the work. I mean, some of my first exposure to this stuff was about 11, 12 years ago. I had my you know, network marketing university 1.5 years with a different company that I used to work with. And it was an amazing personal growth journey for me. And I learned so much about being an entrepreneur, learned so much about mindset. And that's when I got turned on to Jim Rohn. Oh gosh, do I love that man. I mean, I, you know, never got to meet him or anything, but just his voice still, you know, I still have a few of his CDs. And there is just something about, you know, that really taking radical responsibility for what we're programming in our mind, the philosophies that we have, the beliefs that we're carrying, and committing to doing the work to create differently and be a deliberate co-creator in the world.
Yeah. Well, that leads me to my next question. Has there been a time recently where you maybe struggled with prosperity or abundant thinking? And if so, how'd you deal with it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have quantum leaped over the last couple of years. You know, part of my personal story is when you mentioned that you know, when you did the intro, you mentioned that I had been a cover girl model for many, many years. I actually modeled for 12 years. And so I was earning 6 figures by the time I was 15.
Wow.
You know, whoa, what do you do with that, right? Thank God my dad was a financial planner and, you know, was like, did his best to help kind of keep me sane around it. But I had this experience very early on of, you know, greater abundance and money and ability to spend it. And and then I went through this period where I kind of walked away from all of that. And I walked away from the modeling world. I had a major, major health crisis, went into the world of greater spirituality, rewilding myself, as I like to say, moved to the Colorado mountains and became a certified herbalist, working with plants, and kind of simplified my life a lot. And also went through a period of kind of getting caught and stuck in scarcity mentality and struggle. And like I almost had a knee-jerk reaction to the wealth that I saw. In the modeling world, there was a lot of abuses and a lot of stuff around money and, you know, I mean, just the real dark side of it, you know, the older men with money and the young girls and the different things so I kind of had this knee-jerk reaction of, to some degree, thinking of money and wealth as bad, and that it didn't line up with my spirituality anymore. And that, you know, when there was so many people struggling in the world, who am I to have extra? And I really went through this journey for years, even a couple decades almost, honestly, of struggling to remedy that, right? And struggling to find my peace with my innate desire for wealth. I love luxury. I love beauty. I love having a gorgeous home. I love freedom and being able to travel. I want to see the world. Obviously, all of that takes wealth. And so I had to do a lot of work around healing some of those deep wounds and misperceptions around wealth. And I think that is something that we're all working on here in the modern world. You know, there's a lot of wonkiness and funky beliefs around wealth. And, you know, I mean, there's still so much programming around, you know, money is greedy and this kind of stuff. So yeah. I've had to do a lot of work around it. And even when you do a lot of work around it, and even when you start expanding and expand your abundance levels, there's ways in which there's then another layer, another level to have to work through. Right. So as I expanded into the position of being able to be, for the first time as an adult with 3 kids that I have financially been solo responsible for the first time, being in the position to buy my own home, right? And like being in that position, there was of course the excitement, the joy and all of that, but then there was also some of this like unconscious shame feelings around that, or do I really deserve that, or is that okay? So I've had to, at each of those expansive levels, one, I am a big believer in continuously and constantly working with coaches. I think we all need a support team. If you are committed to growing yourself in this world and expanding tremendously, we need people that can help kind of keep an outside eye on us, because the self-sabotage and the ways that we might kind of trick ourselves or, you know, trip up, we can't always see and we can't always catch. So big believer in always having that support team, and the strategists and the business coaches and the healers and the energetic workers. All of that has been absolutely key for me. There has been multiple times in the last several years, as I'm expanding into a much more luxurious, abundant life, that I think if I didn't have that whole team in place, I probably would have sabotaged it. I mean, just honestly. So I, have been very committed to having a team that is supporting me and knows my bigger vision and what I'm playing for, and is also, on task for helping me catch those things within myself. I also just always up the ante. When I know I'm bumping up against those edges, I up my ante on my mindset work, on the listening to things, on the just really pouring into my consciousness and my awareness, the prosperity work. I don't know. I mean, I think we're infinitely growing beings. So does it ever stop that you would want to keep kind of impressing upon our mind and our subconsciousness that information? So really, that's a continual practice for me. Absolutely upping that continuously.
So let me ask you this question. Has there been a failure in your life or a mistake in your life that set you up later for success?
Well, I mean, I've had times where I felt like I failed at modeling. And there's so many different pieces. I actually got, terribly physically ill. So my mental mind can, not be hard on myself. But there was a place in which, I was at this point in my modeling career where I was being groomed to be the next Christy Brinkley. I mean, I've been under contract with CoverGirl Cosmetics for 4 years. There was ways in which I was, very in, you know, having to look back and take responsibilities for my contribution to my downfall. I was drinking extremely heavily. It was how I was coping with a lot of the shadow sides of the business. I was struggling with, you know, the eating disorders and things and self-image and all of that. So there was a way in which, you know, it just all kind of crumbled, but there was a period of time of having to, like, you know, like that had been a childhood dream of mine. I wrote an autobiography in 5th grade saying, I'm going to be a superstar model and marry a rock star and, you know, live on the mountains with horses. And, you know, I had this whole vision for years and years and years. And then I got so close to it, right? I mean, I was experiencing it, I was tasting it, and it just, you know, all crumbled for so many different reasons. But what that actually did was it propelled me on this completely other path, which has been an incredibly, like, soul satisfying success that is about empowering women on a much, much, much deeper level. Both from the perspective of their health and their well-being and how we are in our bodies and how we take care of ourselves, how we relate to our natural beauty and our natural radiance. But also from this place of, like, you know, how do women be in our power in the world in a really, like, embodied and tangible way? So, you know, what was in some ways a failure led to this path of, you know, incredible alignment with my deeper truths.
That's awesome. That's a wonderful story. Not an easy journey, I can imagine, but it's
No, that was not easy.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. What advice would you give somebody who maybe is struggling? Maybe they feel stuck. Maybe they think they're too old, not smart enough, not educated enough to create the abundance and the prosperity to become a top income earner in their company. What advice would you give to that person today?
Good question. Good question. Do the self-love work. Yeah, do the self-love work. Here's another one that I remember from I love Michael Klaus. Are you familiar with Michael?
Yeah, I know Michael.
Yeah. So, you know, this is 11, 12 years ago that I was going, plugging a thing brought in for our events and stuff. And I got his whole success pack, right? Highly recommend it. It's still all super pertinent, even though it was long before social media and all that stuff. But all of the principles, all of the philosophies, still absolutely, you know, the best. And I remember one of his things is you got to go in the mirror and tell yourself, I love myself. I love myself. I love myself. I love myself. I'm an amazing speaker. I'm this, I'm that, right? And I remember first hearing that and being like, that is so freaking goofy. Like, I don't know if I can do that. But then actually putting it into place. And here's another funny piece about that. So here you have that coming from, you know, a guru in entrepreneurialism and network marketing here in the United States. And then, I don't know, maybe 5 years later or something, I had aligned with one of my greatest mentors and teachers from India, right, of ancient Tantra and Hinduism. And he was like, he started during one of our workshops, he started talking about, you know, pulling out the mirror and sitting there. I am an embodiment of the divine goddess. I am the divine feminine. I love myself. I'm here to shine my radiant light. And I was like, wait a minute, that's the same thing that Mike Klaus was talking about, you know, from totally two different spectrums, right? Spiritual guru over here from India, you know, and that stuff is like the foundation. If we don't have the self-love, if we're not daily doing the self-care, if we're not giving thanks to these beautiful body temples for all that they do for us, no matter what age, what shape, whatever, it's very hard to create success and joy in any area of our lives. The self-love is absolutely number one. So, you know, you're doing the practices that help cultivate that self-love, and you're also shedding a really, like, soft and illuminating light on those wounded parts of ourselves and holding them and loving them and doing the deeper work to heal the wounds, heal the trauma, heal the lack of self-worth and the undeservability. All of that stuff is the foundation, no matter what age, no matter where you're at in life, how many failures you've had. You always got to come back to that place of radical self-love.
Yeah.
That'd be my tip.
Yeah. No, so if somebody buys into that, we'll just use those words. Mm-hmm. And let's say they feel overwhelmed and maybe alone today. Maybe they lost a job, maybe they lost a loved one, and they're looking for more in life, but they're really not able to grab it. They think their future is dim. Would you go back to the self-love, or would you give them other insights and direction?
Well, I mean, one of the things that is this is like the tightrope, the balancing act, right, of personal growth work, of loving ourselves. There's a way in which we have to love ourselves even in the grieving, right? And there's the way in which, if you've experienced a huge loss, if you're in the midst of a massive transition or something that's just been shattering, there is a trauma there. There is a way in which we have to honor that and give space and breath and time to that. So it's not a rushing away from that. I'm a big believer, and we got to feel our feelings. We got to go through our processes. It's not about stifling anything or running away from it. So part of that self-love practice is embracing all of what this human life holds, because I think anybody that's been alive long enough on this planet has gone through grief. They've gone through loss. They've gone through death. They've gone through feelings of failure. They've gone through so many things of this tangible human realm that can crush us. So I absolutely feel like we got to hold space for that. And as a culture, we kind of have to get better at that, right? We tend to medicate away grief, or we, try and rush over pain or loss. And I don't think that's healthy either. So there's a way in which, we got to hold it gently, and we got to make sure that we have the support system, again, that support team, that support system that's in place, the community that can hold us through anything. Honestly, that's one of my biggest loves of this industry, is that we have an opportunity to really recreate a sense of community. For me, that is just priceless, because whatever we're going through in life, when we have community, when we have people that are close and we've built relationships with, and we're invested in each other's lives, and we're here to really hold that for each other, then we can hold each other through those processes in a really organic and honoring and respectful way, while someone kind of, goes through that process and then begins that process of picking themselves back up, remembering those dreams again. Maybe it's just, if someone's had a tragedy, if someone's had a tremendous loss, it could be months before even, they could even connect with joy again. And that has to be honored and has to be given space and reverence for. And
everybody's
then
got their own process.
Yeah. Then it's still the same things. It's still, you eventually get back into the deepest heart space of, what am I here for? What is my part to play in this world? What am I here to give and to gift to the world? What is my unique dreams and desires and visions? And you slowly start feeling those again as we kind of come back from that descent, if you will, into the darkness, or that painful, dark journey of the soul, whatever it is. And then there's it's this, I kind of think it's like the cycles of the earth, that we're going through. We as humans are continually going through that process of creating and building, and then there's loss, and then we're creating and we're building, and we're rebirthing. And it's like this cyclical thing. And the more we can be just full-heartedly present and embracing of whatever part of that journey we're in, it's like being fully present to it actually can allow it to find its natural, spiral up the evolution even sooner.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow, that was pretty good. Okay, let's lighten it up a little bit. Let's say that you had the ability to program everybody's phone in the world, and tomorrow morning they got up and they saw a message on their cell phone. What would that one message say? One phrase.
You ask good questions. That's not what the phrase is. Hold on. I'm totally thinking into it. It would really be along the lines of, I love you. You're amazing. You are here to do incredible things. Breathe life into your greatest dreams. Trust in the desires and the longings of your spirit. You are here to do amazing things in this world, and you are loved.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, something like that.
That sounds good. That sounds good. Okay. In the last 5 years, Renee, what's one new belief or behavior that has most improved the prosperity in your surroundings and overall quality of life?
Great. I would say in the last few years, I have gotten so much more conscious and intentional with my dreaming and my visioning. Right. So it really has become that daily practice. It has really, like, it's almost like I took so many of us operate in the world where we have put our dreaming on lockdown.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, it's just daydreaming. I can never have that. I can never do that. We're afraid to fail. So we just don't even go there anymore. We just don't even let ourselves dream. And in the last 5 years, I have taken that lock off, and I have begun to really honor on such a deep level that the longings and the deepest dreams and desires of my heart and my spirit are the longings of my soul, that they're like the longings and the desires of God, of goddess, of spirit, of what is wanting to be birthed into this world, and that I am here as a unique vessel to birth those things. And so I have gotten so much more conscious and deliberate and intentional around how I orient myself to my dreaming and my visioning. Right. So it's just become like, I personally believe it's a neural pathway. It's a muscle that we have cut off at very young ages. People are where they kind of had their, big, wild and everything's possible, dreamy state squelched. But a lot of people have that squelched at some point or another, either in childhood or maybe it's even in early adulthood. There's just been failure after failure or things not happening or coming true, that we turn off that muscle and decide that it's not safe to dream anymore, and that it's not safe to be in our longing, and it's not safe to breathe into what's possible anymore. And I have made it very, very, very intentional and a daily practice that I have given myself full permission to dream again, to breathe life into that process. It's an actual process. It's like, our imagination is a mental faculty. It's a sense, just like, we all know we can have the sense to smell or the sense to feel. We're all okay with those senses, but I believe that the ability to imagine and vision and dream is another one of our magical human abilities, and we turn it off at some point. Yeah. And the more that we can really connect back with that and then breathe into that and really hone that muscle, then the more likely we're going to really manifest what we deeply desire, and we're going to step into the greater versions of ourselves and be able to impact that and inspire that in others.
So somebody's watching this and they kind of buy into the prosperity and abundance thinking, and they're totally impressed with you and your story, and like, you're all amazing and all this kind of stuff. But they get into this space, or they get into this thinking of, Renee could do this, but I could never do this. I just don't deserve to have a prosperous life. What advice or what action items would you give that person to do?
Well, I think one of the things I would do is it would be like, one, I can relate to that feeling. Okay. I've had many, many, many things in my life that I could have gotten stuck in the story of, I'm a failure. I don't deserve goodness. I don't know how to live a good life, that kind of thing. I mean, if you want me to be really, really transparent here, it's like, I have, 2 marriages that ended. I have 3 children from 3 different fathers. I have raised those kids on my own. I have had, periods of pretty intense struggle and poverty in my life, feeding my kids from the food bank. I have had, drug addiction, alcohol addiction. I've been in those places. Hey, stop it. Enough. I've been in those places where I really could have stayed in that place of, I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy of a good life. I don't know how to do this. I'm a failure. And somehow, some way, I've always found my way out of it. And it's been through, the loving people in my life, the support systems, the inner intuitive voices that I was like, okay, let me listen to that. Let me just follow that. Just, okay, there's the dream again. Here's the, the part of me that's saying I am lovable. Let me just listen to that again. So one, I think if we're going to be really honest as humans, I personally don't know anybody that hasn't been in that place. I think it is an inherent part of this journey of life that we go to those places of such suffering and such internal pain and aloneness and fear and senses of, hit the bottom and I don't know how to get out. So I think that's an important part for people to understand. And this is something that's really important, is I feel like we have a lost, we're so media, we're so brainwashed to think that life is supposed to look like this pretty picture, right? And everything's shiny and perfect. And there's these people out there that have it all together and they've never struggled. And that is just hogwash. Okay. Like when we're going to be real, when we're going to be vulnerable and we're going to share our authentic stories of our lives, everyone goes through periods of struggle. Everybody has had traumas and woundings and betrayals and heartbreak and failures. And so if we can, embrace that and understand that and like pat ourselves on our back and say, it's okay. This is part of the human journey. And I'm still here and I can pick myself back up again. Then from there, you get to come back into a place of self-love, of knowing that no matter what has happened in your life, no matter, what heartbreaks or what failures or how badly we have effed up personally, right? We can find that grace again. And we can find that place of love and beauty and connection and abundance and growth and healing. And that's, to me, that's what ultimate healing and growth is about. It's about it's not about ever really accessing this place where we're, everything is totally perfect and we never experience pain again. I don't know that that's really possible in the human realm. I think we are here to experience it all, but we can come to this place where we know ourselves as co-creators, right? As people that have responsibility and possibility of crafting and creating our lives, no matter what starting point we're at, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
That was powerful. Thanks for sharing that.
Good.
2 more questions. These are going to be easy for you.
Okay.
What unusual habit or thing do you love?
Well, this is probably one of the more unusual things that has become a really big part of my life. And this is not something that's very common. So a practice that came into my world is called Tantric Dance. Right? I see that you're kind of like, I don't know what that is.
Actually, I Googled it before this interview, so I do know it. I watched the video on YouTube.
Oh, good. Okay. So it is a womb-based movement meditation for women, but men can do it too. Maybe you can bring me back on sometime and I can guide you through it. Because men have energetic womb spaces as well. It's really just our creative center, right? So it's an inner movement meditative practice where we are cultivating deep internal presence, deep inner communion with God, Goddess, through our own awareness, through our bodies, where, just it's an exploration. So that became something that became a regular practice of mine when I was pregnant with my second child and going through an incredibly hard period of my life. And that has informed so much of kind of, big growth stages and a deep ability to have kind of a deeper intimacy with myself, right? So that's probably a strange practice. It's not that common yet. There's only probably about maybe a dozen of us in America that teach it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But it's beautiful and it's powerful.
One last question. Do you have a mantra that you repeat to yourself throughout the day?
I have a power mantra that I work with regularly, and it is, I am divine love. I am sovereign and free. I am embodied power. So that's kind of, I have like a little power stance that goes with it as well, but
I'd love to see that sometime, right?
It's like, it's when I like put my feet on the earth and my hands up to heaven, and I just say that and I channel that to myself, because that, those to me are like, those are my core power words.
That's beautiful. I love it. I absolutely love it. Well, Renee, I want to just say thank you so much. You've shared so many good tips and pearls of wisdom here today on prosperity, and thank you so much for being vulnerable too and showing us, your journey, because it certainly hasn't been easy for you, but you have created a wonderful, wonderful life. And I love the fact that you are so passionate about, helping other people. So if somebody wants to reach out to you, how could they do that?
Oh, good question. You can come in and find me on Facebook, Renee Jeffus. You can also go to my website, reneejeffus.com. You can shoot me an email from there. I do also have more of a personal fan page aside from my personal Facebook page, because my personal Facebook page is getting filled up. So my fan page is also Renee Jeffus. So you can just find me on there, find me through my website. And yeah, it's been so great being here with you, Terry. I love what you're doing, and I love how you're bringing, these questions and these good, deep inquiries. And we're all here to just help uplift each other and celebrate being alive together. So thank you.
There's so much abundance and prosperity all around us if we just take the time to appreciate the little things, to be grateful for the little things. So hopefully, my friend, you got some value out of today's interview with Renee. She's an amazing woman. Connect with her on her blog, reneejeffus.com, or on Facebook or her Facebook page. You'll get a lot of value from following this lady. She's an influencer, and she's got a heart that will guide you to create a lifestyle where you can be your best version of yourself. So again, thank you so much for being here, Renee. Appreciate it. My friend viewer, thank you for being and sharing some of your time with us. Remember this, my friends, live happy, stay young, and take some time today to inspire somebody. Until next time, bye-bye for now.